play Team Chaotix. Let's go. I showed off the intro cutscene in part 1, so that's how I'm just going to jump right into every team. Why the hell is Eggman testing out their investigation skills if his ultimate goal is to have them free him from the room he's trapped in? I mean, really? That's so stupid. Why is he making them waste their time with this stupid, tedious shit when he's actually inconveniencing himself because he's guaranteeing that they're going to take a much longer time getting to him in the first place? It's also, like a big plot hole with this game is that how the hell did Eggman mail walkie-talkie to the Chaotix if he was trapped in that room the whole game? Yeah, I'm not really gonna care about spoilers, obviously, because it's Sonic Heroes. Come on, it's kind of a simple story to begin with. But yeah, it's just weird that I'm assuming it's because he had already planned on mailing the letter, the walkie-talkie to them in the first place, and it just so happened that he got trapped in the room after he had already sent the walkie-talkie up to them anyways. So that's the only explanation I could think of. They really should have explained that. Like, they should have explained that Eggman had already planned on using them for something. How the hell did he have well, I guess the voice modulator that made him sound all helium-like was in the walkie-talkie itself? Because it wouldn't make sense for him to have a voice modulator in the room that he was locked in, that didn't have a bathroom, or food, or water, or anything like that. Like, okay, you can survive for 3 days without food and water, even if he's a fat man, so he would be a lot more clearly suffering from it by the time they got to them. But without a bathroom, really?
Here we go.
But yeah, obviously this mission is very tedious. The big problem with Team Chaotix is you have to tediously, meticulously search through every inch of a level to find objects. I mean, some missions are pretty merciful, like some of them are literally just go to the goal. That's how the whole game should have been. And obviously, as you can see right here, sometimes the characters will talk, and that implies that you should go to.
Here we go.
Like sometimes they'll give you hints about what you need to do. Like they'll point out, hey, this is something that I can push that's connected to rails, and that moves it over. And so you can assume that there will be hermit crabs there. Like those things that you can push. They're basically the same gimmick as from Wild Canyon. Only you're not pushing them for a really long time. You're just attacking them with power type and sending them really far. Which is weird because I guess it's implying that Vector is stronger than Knuckles, who has super strength. Because, like Knuckles took quite a while to push Crate all the way around the train tracks. Why am I stiffly dropping rather than being allowed to fly to the left onto that higher area? What, just because the game decides that I'm not allowed to go there? But yeah, whenever your characters mention hermit crabs, it tells you that you should be looking through those areas. And yeah, see, these are the things that technically first appeared in Wild Canyon, but you move them so fast that it doesn't really feel like it. You've also got the same canyons, and like they shoot you diagonally, and that's the case for every team. And because of that, because you can't really see where they're aiming, it's a good thing that you don't have to aim them manually. Because you can't, if you were expected to aim them manually, you wouldn't actually be able to see like where they were going to shoot you to, and so that would be kind of awkward and cheap. And like the camera doesn't really show you it well. But yeah, what I'm showing off here is my first ever experience with the level. I tried to complete this level 3 times in a row, and I failed every single time. Every single time, I failed to get all 10 hermit crabs before this happened. See, this level doesn't have a time limit. It has something worse. What we're coming up to right now is the most game-breakingly bullshit part of the whole game, and of any 3D Sonic games that I've ever played. This is essentially Robotnik's deadly speed traps. Look at this. You get trapped, you walk into an invisible wall that arbitrarily doesn't allow you to go through the rest of the level so you can find more hermit crabs. And so you think, okay, I guess I'll just go backwards and backtrack through the whole level again, trying to... What? There's another invisible wall? I'm trapped in a section of the level and can't escape as a punishment for not getting enough hermit crabs. And they don't even have a bottomless pit there to let you kill yourself so you can retry. This footage is the GameCube version. So yes, well, the version I'm normally showing off is the GameCube version, it's just on emulator. This is the actual GameCube version. And here I'm showing off that this isn't actually an anti-piracy thing. This happens on the actual version of the game too. So even on the GameCube, it makes it impossible for you to progress unless you found every single hermit crab, when the hermit crabs are small and easy to miss. So I literally had to follow along with a guide in order to find every single hermit crab. And that required basically slowly playing the game, constantly stopping so that I could watch the walkthrough, and pausing the walkthrough every so often. And that's why I kept standing still. I was watching, and I was recording the whole thing too, so I had to deal with the fact that I would have to speed it up because it would be boring to watch. At the very least though, it is new footage that's worth showing off, even though I'm going through the level again, because I'm showing you hermit crabs I did get to show off. And yeah, like, it's kind of awkward trying to get up that slope once you go down it. Especially since the camera doesn't want you to go back up it. And the last hermit crab is easily the most bullshit one, because how are you supposed to know that there's anything behind that beehive? And that's another thing, it's weird, because that beehive is purple. It really shouldn't... How are you supposed to know that it's a beehive? I guess it's supposed to be a purple flower, but it really doesn't look like it. And the thing is that Charmy, a bee, can interact with it. That's the major gimmick that the Chaotix introduced to each of the levels. Is the things that you can pollinate to warp to new sections of the level. The lame thing is you can't warp to every single different section of the level. And it would have been cool if each section of the level was colored either blue or red, depending on whether you found every crab or whatever in that section of the level. Like Shadow the Hedgehog, when it forced you to search through an entire level looking for stuff, it actually had checkpoints that allowed you to warp to every single different section of the level. That was really cool, and I wish every Sonic game did that. But this game doesn't do that, even though it literally has a gimmick dedicated to letting you warp. So that sucks. There are beehives that send you to the beginning of the level from the end. There are beehives that let you progress, and there's one beehive that is just there for a platform to let you go higher. There's things that fall down and hit you, and they're actually there in the Team Dark version of level 2. So when I played for the first time though, I thought that it was a new gimmick. I guess I just didn't remember very well. There's things that are different about the Chaotix from the other teams. Vector actually has bubblegum as a way to float. And he also has, like, shooting bubblegum as his biggest ground attack, like if he's at level 3. Apparently, level 3 is stronger, like, at level 2, his best ground attack is that he shoots fire. But at level 3, his best attack is shooting bubblegum in a circle, which is apparently stronger than fire. I guess the whole thing about Vector is that he's wacky, and that also explains their Team Blast. The thing about Espio that makes him unique aside from the fact that you can throw shurikens when you're trying to rocket excel with them, which barely deal any damage, and they're pretty much useless. I don't even know if he can rocket excel or if he just throws shurikens. But the other thing that's unique about Espio, aside from the fact that he can turn invisible when he uses the really terrible tornado attack that he has that barely has any range at all, like you practically have to be right above a robot in order to actually tornado them. You're gonna miss most of the time, which sucks because you're going to probably be using the tornado attack more with Espio than with any other character because of one mission alone. So that's really unacceptable. In fact, you're actually more likely to die to the character battles as Espio than any other character, from the sheer fact that his tornado attack is so stupid. Even though Team Dark is supposed to be the hardest mode. Although honestly I think that Team Chaotix is the real hard mode because it's so much more tedious to play. And why is Eggman making them look for a Chao? Again, how does this help him at all? At the very least though, this is just a harmless get to the goal ring mission. In fact, this is actually completed faster than any other version of the level. Why can't every other mission in the game be like this? I mean, I guess the appeal to the Chaotix is that, well, one, they're a change of pace from all the other teams, and two, they're about exploration. But the thing about exploration in Sonic to me is that exploration is by definition slow-paced, because you're moving slower through the level if you're just tediously looking through every nook and cranny of the level. So why is this a big focus? And the levels and heroes are so linear that it doesn't really feel like you're exploring, because like there are alternate routes, but like for the most part the level usually just naturally leads you into them anyways, unless they're hermit crabs where they're very small and easy to miss. Charmy made a Doctor Who reference in that cutscene, like saying Doctor Who.
Roger.
Not sure why they referenced that. I don't know if people from CD, the people who wrote the script, were fans of Doctor Who.
Death to the evil one. Prepare to die.
More
Eggman.
curious about how the hell Charmy didn't know who Eggman was. Why was he like Doctor Who? When everyone who lives on Sonic's world should know who Eggman is. He's an international terrorist who like tries to take over the world and tear down governments to build his own. How would Charmy not know who he is?
Not too late to change
And why
your
is
mind.
Espio talking as if that's the first time he ever saw him? That's a good line from Vector. Again, that's a good establishing character moment. They're just there to make the rent. They're just a neutral team. Even though they're detectives out to fight crime, so you'd think that they would be heroes too. Ultimately, they're just... Are they like cops since they're detectives and detectives are against criminals? I don't know. There's also like an implication that maybe they resent Sonic because like Sonic is the hero and so he might be taking away their business when he just is intending to do good because he's just going through the city helping people out and oh, turns out like who are people going to go to? The Chaotix where they have to pay? Or Sonic if he happens to be running around and he can do it for free? Like maybe they're jealous of Sonic? I think their cool theme song implies that. But yeah, this is a pretty annoying mission. Well, I say that, but when I first played it, until a certain point in the level, which we'll get to, I actually liked the mission. Like it was pretty satisfying defeating each enemy that I came across. It was satisfying in a checklist sort of way. Like in a collectathon platformer where the goal is to collect everything you see, defeating every enemy is kind of like that. You're accomplishing stuff every time you defeat an enemy. And it helps that every enemy dies in one hit. Although it might actually just be because I have the max levels code on. But either way, there weren't really that many enemies that were annoying and took a long time to kill. I mean, there was the enemies. I think there might be a shield enemy. I don't know. I know there's a turtle shells enemy, but you can just defeat that with the power type belly flop. So it's not really that big of a deal having to defeat every enemy. The problem comes in when, well, if you miss one, then you have to go through the entire level all over again, looking for the enemies that you might have missed. That's a big problem with this level. There are exactly 85 robots in the level, and you have to defeat all of them.
Here we go.
It doesn't give you any room for error.
Let's go.
I mean, it gets to make sense. Like, the mission is to defeat all of the robots. So it wouldn't make any sense if you were allowed to miss a few, logically. But I think they should prioritize fun gameplay and convenience over logic in the story. And even in the story, it doesn't make any sense. Why is Eggman ordering them to destroy his own robots? That's stupid. What, just to spite Metal Sonic? See, that is one instance where the controls being slippery is an actual complaint. Like when you've just been launched out of a cannon, or sometimes been launched out of a ramp, and you hit the ground running, and you move really quickly, even after you turn around and run a circle. Like, you turn around in a wide circle. But that has never gotten me killed. Once. And it can be solved by just jumping, because jumping and turning cancels out that momentum pretty well. And I'm pretty sure that switching to a slower character also does that. So when you're good at the game, you can figure out how to deal with that slipperiness. And even then, the level design was so wide, it was so wide open that it didn't actually matter that you were running around in a huge circle, because it's not like it was narrow level design, and so you would run off the cliff to your death. Level design is perfectly compensating for the controls. And again, it is good that, like, this game does combat well. I mean, I don't think that they should have it as a big focus to the point where it's forced on you, but it does it well in the sense that there's a lot of variety in what you're doing, because, like, you can thunder shoot flying enemies, and you can't just use the same strategy for every enemy. There are some enemies that you need to use a power type against. And there's also the shield enemies. And I think they'd be fine if you were able to target multiple enemies at once with the tornado, rather than being restricted to only one and it taking forever. Because, like, if you're max levels with a speed character, you can just homing attack into them, but then they fling up in the air and they take forever to fall back down. So either way, it just drags out the combat. But the point is, the variety in platforming that the 3-character gameplay style gives to level design, that adds to the combat. See, here's the problem. I completely overlooked those 2 enemies to the left and right of me, and I just kept on going forwards. I completely overlooked them. I mean, they were on the screen, but they were just off to the side. So, guess what I had to do?
SBO, do you think you can use that hole to go up?
I don't really get the point of having hints telling you that you should tornado hammer when you've done it. Like, there's no way Team Chaotix is the first team that you've ever played. Like, I don't really... Like, when it comes to playful hand-holding, I normally don't care, but I don't see the point of... Like, you can tornado pole. You can use the tornado to go up this pole. I'm sure you already know that, but let's say it again. But him saying, got it, SBO. That makes sense. I mean, that's something that they would say to each other in that situation, I suppose. It's less glaring than saying, hey, you can use a tornado to go up this pole, which I'm sure you've already done. I mean, if they only say it for the first tornado pole you see in that team's story, then that would make sense. And see, this is why you shouldn't be using the camera stick to rotate the camera.
Here we go.
Because if you do that in this game, then you're just going to keep on going to first person mode, but you don't want to because you tap ever so slightly to the north. But yeah, like I'm looking all over the place for the robots, but the robots, like the camera doesn't entirely. I wish the camera was a lot more free roaming, like in Wind Waker. That way, like you'd be able to actually move the camera up and down rather than only being able to rotate it around you. That would especially be helpful in Power Plant, where it's more about looking around. I don't know. It's not really that big of a deal though. Normally the camera is the best that it's ever been. Like you can freely move it around without it snapping back. You never really have a point where you're going against the camera completely blind and there's nothing you can do about it. Something I really love about Grand Metropolis is the fact that it's so satisfying running on the gully roads, and then you jump on the top of the slope of the gully roads, and you can use your momentum that you gain from running along the roads to just fly through a rainbow ring. It's really satisfying. A lot of people complain about how the Genesis games don't have the same physics, like the 3D Sonic games don't have the same physics as Genesis games, but jumping from a slope and using your momentum to jump through rainbow rings is a very classic Sonic-like thing to do. So it's really satisfying taking advantage of that in this level. Although you can't really do that in the Chaotix level because they're forced to slowly, meticulously go through the whole place. Like, as you can see, I was pretty pissed there. The level loops on you after a while. And I didn't actually want to restart the level. It's a good thing I made a save state. Like, see, if you press start in most games on the pause menu, that exits out the pause menu. But yeah, these robots, they only spawn after you go there. After you go behind that extra life. Why can't they just fall regardless? They're just so dickishly placed and hidden on you. But yeah, me restarting the level by accident was because I pressed start because I thought that would exit me out of the pause menu and allow me to resume the level. But instead, it actually selected restart, which I apparently was highlighting. And it's just weird because you can't press the A button to select things in the pause menu. You have to press start, and it's easy to forget that.